Today, we're going to break down two incredibly close calls that happened on the very same day, in the same city. But listen, these aren't just random stories. They're symptoms of something much bigger, a dangerous game of asphalt roulette that's being played out on our roads every single day.
And this, right here, this is the heart of it, isn't it? The line between a totally normal commute and a life-changing tragedy can just vanish in a single, reckless moment. As our source puts it, some days feel completely ordinary, until they're not. We are all, in a way, traveling on that razor's edge.
So, let's get specific. Let's ground ourselves in the when and the where. We're in Thiruvananthapuram. And this isn't some hypothetical scenario. Nope, this is a real account of two events that happened within just 1 hour of each other.
Okay, our first incident is, well, it's particularly chilling. It's what our source calls a roadside gamble. And honestly, that's the perfect way to describe it because an entire family's life was literally put on the line.
This line just paints such a vivid and, frankly, heartbreaking picture, doesn't it? You have a father driving, a mother on the back, and a child wedged right there between them. It sounds like a normal family outing, but as you're about to see, it was anything but safe.
So here's how it all went down, step by step. First, the scooter just appears from a side road. No stop, no hesitation. Then it cuts directly into the flow of traffic, missing the narrator's car by a single inch. I mean, 1 inch. This forced the driver of the car into a violent swerve just to avoid the absolute unthinkable. 1 inch. Just let that sink in for a second. That's not an exaggeration. That was the reality of the moment. And you know what? Survival right then had nothing to do with skill. It was all about sheer dumb luck. And look, this wasn't just a simple mistake. It was a whole cascade of deliberate violations. You've got a failure to stop, ignoring right-of-way, unauthorized triple writing, and endangering a minor. Every single one of these was a broken rule, a conscious choice that put 3 people and everyone else on that road in extreme danger. You'd think one brush with disaster would be enough for 1 day, right? But believe it or not, just an hour later, it happened again. This time, it was a different kind of recklessness. A bet in the blind spot, fueled by something the source calls blind spot arrogance.
I mean, this was just a textbook recipe for disaster. You have a scooter with 2 young men on it. They decide to overtake on the left, slicing right through the car's biggest blind spot. And of course, neither one of them is wearing a helmet. To make it all worse, there were parked bikes along the road, which meant there was absolutely zero escape route. Any tiny movement from the car would have been fatal. And this brings us to this really key concept, blind spot arrogance. What is it? It's this mindset where you see a known danger zone, like a car's blind spot, not as a threat to be avoided, but as your own personal shortcut. It's a total and complete denial of risk. This slide just perfectly captures the total disconnect here. In the rider's mind, what are they doing? They're making a daring move. But what's the reality? It's a statistically lethal maneuver. They see not wearing a helmet as natural air conditioning. The reality? It's throwing away the most basic tool you have for survival. Okay, so now let's zoom out. These two incidents, happening just an hour apart, they're not just bad luck. They're connected. They are symptoms of a much, much deeper cultural problem we have on our roads. And this is the question we really have to ask ourselves. Are these just a couple of coincidences, or are they symptoms of something much bigger? Because, if we just dismiss them as one-offs, we miss the entire point. This isn't about a few bad drivers, it's about a widespread acceptance of incredibly dangerous behavior. And here it is. This is the core argument. This is what's called the culture of normalized indiscipline. It's when you see junctions not as places to stop and look, but as launch pads. When you treat blind spots as shortcuts. When safety gear, like a helmet, is just optional. And when the person riding with you is basically treated as collateral in your own personal gamble, that is when risk becomes normal. Wow, this line is just so powerful, isn't it? We cannot rely on luck. We can't rely on fate or guardian angels to keep us safe on the road. Safety has to be a conscious choice. It has to be a responsibility, not just a roll of the dice. So this brings us to the final warning. How should we actually think about these close calls? Because our perspective on them is absolutely crucial. A near mess isn't a moment to feel relief, to think, phew, I got away with it. No, It is a blaring alarm bell. It's a bright, flashing signal showing you exactly how close you came to a consequence that you can never, ever undo. It's a warning. It is not a victory.
So what can we do? Well, it's actually simpler than you think. It really comes down to these 5 basic things. Road safety isn't about being the most skilled driver. It's about being the most predictable, the most patient, and the most responsible one. And that responsibility, it starts with every single one of us.
And really, at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. That feeling of being daring, of being brave on the road, it's temporary. It fades. But the consequences of a mistake, of a tragedy, those last forever. So the final question here is a personal one for all of us. What choice will you make the next time you're on the road?